gentlemen, please rise.
For women,
The Minister of Manpower of the Republic of Indonesia is entering the venue.
Emergency stores. Please do not run.
Ladies and gentlemen, please all rise because the Minister of Manpower of the Republic of Indonesia is entering the venue. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to greet our distinguished guest today, our honorable guest, Minister of Manpower of the Republic of Indonesia, Professor Yasirli, PhD. Our respected guest, Head of Manpower Planning and Development Agency, Professor Anwar Sanusi, PhD. ILO Director for Indonesia Timor-Leste, Mrs. Simrin Singh. Deputy Undersecretary, Ministry of Human Resources in Malaysia, Mrs. Grace Dairian. Visiting Professor at Kausen University, Mr. Noah Jung, PhD. Director of International Collaboration, INDEF, Mr. Imanuddin Abdullah, PhD. Special staff to the Minister of Manpower, partners and sponsors of the Ministry of Manpower's all participants, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let us offer our praise and gratitude to the Almighty, for by His abundant blessings and grace on this joyful day, we are able to gather here together for the event, Indonesian Forum on Labor and Productivity, Gig Workers, Flexibility and Vulnerability from Multiple Perspectives. Can we give a big round of applause for all of us? Before we begin, allow me to recite a short rhyme or poem, or we call it pantun, and please respond it with cakep. Across the island, the breezes flow. Wisdom grows where ideas meet. With open minds, solution will grow for gig workers' future to be complete. So, for your information, our international guest, pantun is like a common thing to do. It's very common for us to open an event because it will bring a warm atmosphere, it will break the ice and also make everyone smile. So thank you very much for joining me. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as an expression of our gratitude for the blessings of the Almighty God and hope that this event will run smoothly, let us begin with a prayer. And the prayer will be led by Mr. Faizul Iqbal. The floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let's bow our head for the moment and ask for the God blessing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that this forum will bring a benefit to the world of employment. Allow me to lead the prayer of according to Islamic religion. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuafi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana kal hamdu wa lakal syukur kama yanbaghi li wa'dima sultan. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli salatan tujina biha min jami'il ahwali wal afat wa taqdiyana biha jami'il hajat wa tutahhiruna biha min jami'i as-sayyi'at wa tarfa'una biha indaka ala darajat wa tuballighuna biha absar ghayat jami'il khairat hayat ba'd. Allahumma di sultan yang dibanding وتعوات مستجابة عاك حسن والحسين من أنفس حق عين القدرة والناظرين وعين الجن والإنس والسياتين وإياك الذين كفروا يدك بأبصارهم لما سمعوا ذكر إنه لمجنون رب العالمين ومستجاب القرآن العظيم وبرس من أبو داود عليه السلام الودود ذو العرش مجيد طويل العمر وصحي جسدي وقضي حاجاتي واقتر أموال ولدي حببني للناس أجمعين وتباعد الكل بني آدم عليه السلام وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه بارك وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة أما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Mr. Faizul Iqbal for reciting the prayer for all of us. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as an overview of today's program covering the objectives, background and preparation process, and also the series of activities designed to strengthen labor policies and national productivity, as well as the expectation of this forum, let us now listen to the event report to be delivered by the head of Manpower Planning and Development Agency of the Ministry of Manpower of the Republic of Indonesia. We now invite Professor Anwar Sanusi, PhD, to deliver his report.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, selamat pagi. The Honorable Minister of Manpower of the Republic Indonesia, Bapak Profesor Yasirli PhD, esteemed speakers from various countries and international institutions, esteemed academics and researchers, representative of ministries, agencies, the business sector, and civil society organizations, and all participants of the Indonesian Forum on Labor and Productivity, ladies and gentlemen. As a people of faith, let us offer our heartfelt praise and gratitude to Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for the blessing and good health He has granted us, enabling our gathering at the Indonesian Forum on Labor and Productivity, IFLP 2025, themes gig worker, flexibility, and vulnerability from multiple perspectives, held here at JS Luansa Hotel. This forum has been initiated as a strategic platform to bring together thought leaders, policymakers, academics, business actors, and institutional organizations to exchange ideas and engage in meaningful dialogue on the future direction of labor policy in Indonesia. Such discourse is a paramount importance in response to evolving strategic landscape of the labor market both globally and nationally. We extend our profound gratitude to the Ministers of Manpower, Bapak Profesor Yasirli PhD, for his invaluable guidance and leadership. We also convey our highest appreciation to all stakeholders whose collaboration and unwavering support have been instrumental in success of this event. Our sincere thanks go to esteemed speakers, Ms. Simrin Singh of the International Labour Organization, ILO Jakarta office, Dr. Indra Singawinata of the Secretary General of Asian Productivity Organization, APO Tokyo, Dr. Grace from the Kesuma, Kementerian Sumber Manusia, Malaysia, Professor Jung Noah of Kosin University, and Mr. Imaduddin Abdullah from Indef, and also Professor Agus Pramusinto from Gajah Mada University, whose generous contribution of knowledge, insight, and experience have significantly enriched the substance of this forum, broadens its global perspective, and fosters new pathways international cooperation. We further extend our sincere appreciation to BNI, BPJS Ketenagakerjaan, Denso for their meaningful participation as partner and sponsors. The engagement exemplifies the private sector steadfast commitment to advancing labor research and contributing to the development of sound and inclusive policy frameworks. Ladies and gentlemen, we deeply appreciate to the public enthusiasm as reflected in remarkable number of article submission totaling 2008. Following a rigorous review and a selection process conducted by esteemed reviewers from IPB, Institut Pertanian Bogor, IAPA, Indef, BRIN, and Babnas, 165 authors were invited to submit full manuscripts. We have since received 111 full articles, which are currently undergoing further evaluation to identify the most outstanding contribution. Following through selection, we have chosen and invited 6 outstanding authors to present their paper during the parallel discussion. The selected work will be considered as valuable input in the formulation of policies related to the gig workers in Indonesia. As a part of acknowledgement, the authors will receive a cash award supported by our sponsor, publication in the Sinta 2 accredited journal Ketenagakerjaan, Keynote, and opportunity to be published in IFLP proceeding. In addition, we will extend a formal invitation to the authors whose paper were not selected to publish their work in IFLP proceeding. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Indonesia Forum on Labor Policy, IFLP 2025, has been attended by 385 participants representing academia, the private sector, non-governmental organization, policymakers, students, and institutions at both national and international level. Furthermore, the collaboration with the Indonesian Association for Public Administration, IAPA, has made a meaningful academic contribution to the enrichment to this forum. Through this initiative, the Ministry of Manpower reaffirmed its commitment to formulating labor policies that are responsive to the global dynamics and evolving trends, including the rise of the gig economy, while the flexibility and economic opportunities offer the gig work present new avenues for growth. They also pose a significant challenge in ensuring adequate protection for gig workers, establishing adaptive regulatory framework, and building a labor system that safeguards sustainability and promote worker well-being. In this occasion, we encourage all participants to continue strengthening networks, expanding collaboration, and ensuring that every idea and recommendation generated through this forum contribute meaningfully to the advancement of the Indonesian future labor policies. That conclude the activity reports I have presented. We extend our sincere gratitude to the organization committee, partners, speakers, reviewers, and sponsors whose contributors have played a vital role in the success of this year IFLP. Our hope this forum will serve as a foundational step forward, shaping a more inclusive, progressive labor landscape in Indonesia, one of the benefit all workers and support the broader national agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, even though we already worked so hard, we do our best, but we still found many weaknesses for this event. So that's why, from the bottom of my heart, I would like to apologize on behalf of our committee for the weakness of this event. We hope this event not only the first time, this is the beginning of our long journey to create Indonesian IFLP, Indonesia Forum on Labor Productivity, as a good forum to exchange about knowledge and experience regarding the employment, labor, and also manpower. Finally, we would like to invite to Excellency Ministers of Manpower, Professor Yasirli, to give a speech and give a direction to all of us regarding this forum. Before I end my report to all of you, I also would like to give a pantun. But this is a very excellent pantun because I do in English. So I think maybe this one step that me is now is a bit forward than Pak Menteri. Yeah. So going on holiday has a break routine. Not cakap is good, yeah. Okay, I would like to repeat again, yeah. Going on holiday has a break routine. Bringing joy and peace within. IFLP become a space to share idea for a future of labor that shines brightly. Thank you very much. Again, I would like to extend my sincere thanks and also apologize for everything that maybe is inconvenient for this event. Terima kasih. Akhirul kalam. Wallahu muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Professor Anwar Sanusi, PhD, for your report speech. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to gain a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities in enhancing the productivity, particularly within the context of labor dynamics, work flexibility, and policy sustainability in the modern work era, and to provide direction, perspective, and reinforcement on the strategic labor and productivity issues that are the focus of this forum, let us now listen to the keynote speech to be delivered by the Minister of Manpower of the Republic of Indonesia. We kindly invite Professor Yasirli, PhD, to take the floor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable speakers and guests, Mrs. Simrin Singh, Mr. Indah Pradana Singawinata, and all guests, honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Slide-nya ada. First of all, I thank you for coming to this, our first seminar, our first international conference. It was my dream actually to have this seminar, and our Ministry of Manpower can be a leader to have a community of research, community of practice, so we can come up with the recommendation that can be used for the all policy in the future. Today, instead of talking about the gigs worker, that I believe that guest speaker have more competence than me to speak in this topic, I'd rather to speak in more macro topic about the why do we need evidence-based policy. And this kind of the direction that we want to go, and so that's why also the reason why we have this such conference, and also the reason why we need in the future kind of an institution transformation from Barembang to Institute of Labor and Policy, Indonesian Institute of Labor and Policy. Next, let me start with the current landscape of Indonesia workforce. What we see here, actually, yes, we do have 153,000 of our workers. People saying about what we call as demographic bonus, and then it is true that this is a big opportunity for us. But at the same time, we can see also several challenges. The first one, informality is still dominant. More than half of our workers are informal sectors, about more than 56%. They are in informal sectors, meaning that they do not have the stable income, they do not have the social protection, and they also do not have the career path, sustainability about their income, and etc. We also see that most of our workers have low levels of education. More than half of our finished, more of them only have the education at the level of high school. The total is about 87%. So when we are talking about how can we anticipate for this disruption of technology to come up with the upskilling, reskilling, it becomes more challenges for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, while we have a massive workforce, the need for the decent work is very real. Workers want stability, workers want protection, and workers want opportunities to grow. This is something the whole government under Pak President will focus on. But here are our challenges, and hopefully starting by this conference, starting by these seminars, we can receive any recommendation for the more effective policy for the better Indonesia in the future. Next. This is my favorite slides. Actually, after about 1 year to be the Minister of Manpower, I started to try to look at in the whole what kind of our strategic challenges. The first one is strengthening, link and match and optimizing vocational training centers, or BLK. Yes, issue related to unemployment, it's become the biggest challenge of our governments. But also, if we ask industry, Is it true that they do not have any vacancies? So the answer is not really. At the same case, they do have vacancies, but the problem is the candidates they are looking for not suitable, not available. So the issue is related to what we call as the link and match. So that's why we have modalities, vocational training centers. So we have the homework how to transform our vocational training centers to be able to answer this challenge. So that's why the issue related to curriculum, the issue related to the capability of our instructors, the issue how relevant the training vocational centers can answer the demand of the industries will be the key. So the second challenge is related to ensuring decent and inclusive employment opportunities. We want our ecosystem, workforce ecosystem inclusive. We want ecosystem of our manpower is also just and also to be collaborative. People with disabilities should have the same opportunities for having jobs, for having decent work, for having stable income, not only related to people who living in the city, big cities, but those also who living far from cities should also have the same opportunity. So that's why the issue related to inclusive work to be important for us to be addressed. The third challenge related to formulating labor regulation. We already have decision from MK, our constitution, related to labor law revisions, minimum wage, the issue related to minimum wage, foreign workers, fixed term contract, outsourcing, and etc. We need to work with our legislative, and then there will be the initiative for the act for the regulation, and then we need to make sure that the regulation is also answering the needs, based on inspiration of our unions, based on a social dialogue process. The fourth challenge is related to enhancing law enforcement of the labor standard and occupational safety and health. Today, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many accidents happening in the workplace with fatalities, and then I think that there are issues related to work culture, there are issues related to competencies, there are issues related to inspection, there are issues related to how are we gonna manage the industries, how we prepare them about the certification, about the license, then all the things that we need to work, but again, to come up with effective policy, we need data. We need to do research. Which sector that we need to be prioritized, which sector that we need to go first, which one's more effective, one policy instead of other policy, that the all answers that we need to, all the questions we need to answer. The other challenge related to promoting transformative industrial relations, advancing a shared vision between employers and labor union. Ladies and gentlemen, we have mediators with the limited numbers, the rule to create a better industrial relation in industries. But the number, if lack, we are also lack of approach. So that's why currently we are developing a new framework in industrial relation. Instead of only mentioning about the harmony, I propose instead of harmony, not only harmony, but also transformative industrial relation. What does it mean? Meaning that unions have also contribution in increasing productivity, not only about the speak up about wage, but also management will also responsible not only about the profit, not only discussing about the profit, but they do care about the wealth of the workers. That's what we want, what we call as the transformative industrial relation. Another challenge related to how we keep improving our labor market information system, what we call as siap kerja. There are a huge data, big data, along with this platform. Unfortunately, till now, we not yet have benefit with such of data. Thousands of people who are looking for jobs, they put their curriculum vitae in there. 100,000 of vacancies that are available from different sectors of industry, but it's still only data. We cannot yet have benefit information from this system. So hopefully also in the future, there are also an effort from Barenbang, our Institute of Labor and Productivity, can take what the information needed from the siap kerja and then come up with the policy recommendation for the policy. Last but not the least, we also have challenge in implementing bureaucratic reforms. Kemnaker is a big institution. We have a lot of homework related to transparency, related to have the performance management system with the good culture, with the competencies, with ethic, and etc. Last but not the least, what my dream actually, how we have the mindset transformation. Beyond these challenges, we also want a mindset shift. For many years, our ministry is only known related to labor issues, blue-collar issues, about the wage, about disputes, about the regulation, and what we want to go beyond that. Our direction is clear. We want to move from being seen as the Ministry of Labor to becoming Ministry of Manpower and Human Development. Why? Because the future challenges, what we are facing now, disruption of technology, disruption of artificial intelligence, disruption about the issue related to green and etc. But currently, I think we are not ready yet to face this challenge, to face this disruption. The issue again related to skilling, upskilling, and reskilling is very important, but we need a clear recommendation based on a research, based on a data. How are we gonna focus? Which step that we need to start, and which direction we need to go. Ladies and gentlemen, next, at least there are two reasons why evidence-based policy we need. I think that's everybody already aware about we already know that evidence-based policy is very important. But again, I want to put more emphasis in this. We have such big data. And again, I think that this is a real opportunity for us to come up what we call as evidence-based policy. Even though I know that us, as the Ministry of Manpower, we have the limited capacities, limited competencies, but we can work on that. The first reason, public people, netizens expect more impact from government programs. I think it is very clear. And the second, there are no excuse about the wrong on policy. Policy mistakes are expensive. Not only about the amount of money, but also about the damage, about the loss of opportunity that can be happen. So that's why what we need actually from this seminar or conference, from this conference, this is the first step for us, to have the transformation, Barembang, to be Indonesian Institute of Labor and Productivity. So that's why, this the first conference, with about 200 attendees, 300 attendees, and then we'll do this, every year. Next time will be, in Denpasar, Bali, for example. With the more participants coming, with more researchers coming, with more academians coming, with more even researchers from the outside of the Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, here what you can see from this slide next, the range of research topic. This kind of brainstorming idea, what kind of research topic, research tree, what kind of something that we need to answer using data, using research-based, evidence-based, and etc. The first one in terms of labor market and employment outlook. This just questions. I think that students here from Kemnaker, you can put the idea and then to be your research topic. Related to future jobs, green, digital, care, creative, blue economy, and etc. The idea should be something related to manpower. For example, we are talking about the outlook with job title in, for example, green economy that will have the fastest growth, for example. So if there is an answer for that, let's evaluate our vocational training system. Do they already ready to anticipate with the curriculum, with the certification for that growing? That's just example. Sectoral and regional labor demand. Which sector that has the fastest growing? We hope that some sector with what we call as padat karya. Government should have protection for such sector because Indonesia is big country, and then we need answer based on evidence-based research which sector that we need to focus on in our, for example, the next 5 years or the next 10 years. Informality, vulnerable workers, gig workers, for example, then I believe that, today there will be intensive discussion about this topic, and hopefully that, by the end of this conference, we will receive, recommendation, and of course, based on data, based on research. Demographic shift, decision work indicators, unemployment, and etc. The second theme related to skills, productivity, and human capital development. Skill mismatch. We already know that there is issue related to graduates from high school, for example. Why that's happened? How to overcome the problem, and etc. BLK curriculum relevance. For example, this year, based on, let me repeat, this year, based on a very, very short research, and then we came up with the conclusion, we need to renew the curriculum, and then we came up with the new streamline of the curriculum, smart operation. But actually, such decision should come up from a research base. So what we did actually, just based on benchmark, based on our knowledge, limited knowledge in industry, and then, okay, so we come up with the new policy and the new curriculum, and hopefully in the future, the such process can be better. And industry participation models, yeah, we are talking about the smart factory, etc., productivity factors and intervention. For example, the questions based on research, yeah, non-research, GDP, some things have the high correlation with the productivity. Yeah, that's the norms actually. So if you want to increase our GDP, so one way is to increase, to boost our productivity. So the next question, how to do that? Yeah. Okay, we have, for example, companies, big companies, medium level companies, SMEs, yeah, small and medium enterprise. How, yeah, or what kind of intervention we need? So in aggregate, the national productivity can increase. What kind of intervention, which sector of industry, which level, with the size of the industry that we need to focus on, all of these things are questions that we need to answer. Labor standards, social protection, industrial relation, a lot of issues here about the minimum wage. Yeah. For example, yeah, within the last 2 months, we have what we call as the team, yeah, from statistic, BPS, then the One Economy National, and also the Kemnaker. We work, yeah, within about 2-3 months coming up about the KHL. Yeah. KHL means that, yeah, kebutuhan hidup layak. Yeah. The standard living of wage. Yeah. About the methodology, how can we learn from other countries, and then how can we do the simulation, which indicators that need to look at, and etc. That's the issue, all things that we can resolve using an evidence base, using the research base. What else? Inspection, compliance, occupational and health enforcement. Today we have limited number of inspectors, yeah, 1,000 something, and then I think that, yeah, after several years, the excuse is the same, the limited number of inspectors. We need to come up with the more effective solution. Can we, for example, include labor unions to be the inspectors in our industry? That's the good idea, but the idea need to be elaborated more. Yeah. Do we have real benchmark for having such policy, for example, and etc.? And then finally, again, what we need is the recommendation based on evidence base. Institutional performance and policy delivery, etc., etc. So ladies and gentlemen, all guest speakers, there are just brainstorming, yeah, a lot of things that we need to answer, and I believe that a lot of rooms for us to do research, a lot of room for us to do collaboration research. As the minister, I'm calling for any collaboration, and I believe that the challenge we are facing now, the answer is only one: we need to collaborate. Next, here for example, what we have done, labor analytic dashboard. So this is our effort to try to look at more detail. So when we are talking about the academic, about the research culture, we are not enough to look at the data on the aggregate. We need to look in detail. So this, for example, the effort, yeah, how we want to strengthen evidence-based policy with the development of labor analytic dashboard. So this dashboard, yeah, present us about the data in terms of unemployment, in terms of economic growth at the level of regional, kota kabupaten. We want in the future the research, the policy will be based on regional, because Indonesia is a huge country. So that's why the research evidence-based not only needed at the level of national, but also at the level of regional. And next, here what currently I think about transforming Barenbang into Institute for Labor and Productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a forward-looking institute for employment outlook to do labor research and to come up with the productivity innovation. Employment outlook, this is our homework actually. How we can predict in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, with sectors will have the growing fast, with the sector, with industry, with job titles. So actually employment outlook can be used also for institution to revising their curriculum. Needed for our children, our kids to look at what the profession in the future that they think that will be prospect, and so many things that's actually all things that start from the employment outlook. Strategic research government, developing the annual research tree and conducting collaborative research. So as I mentioned before, a lot of research questions that need to be answered, and I hope that Institute for Labor and Productivity will be the leader, will be the collaborator, and will be the place for everybody to do research and to attract more researchers, more academia, not only in Indonesia, but also at the global level. Labor statistic enhancement, productivity, research and innovation, and etc. Going forward, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the success at the Kemnaker will not be measured by how many activities, by how many programs that we launch, but by the impact we create. And to create real impact, our policies and program must be effective. Effective policy is built on evidence, using data at every step of formulation and implementation. Good policy doesn't start from assumption. Good policy starts from reality, from the data, from the facts, from what is truly happening in the field and in industry. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can build this culture together, I'm confident we will deliver better outcomes for both workers and for our country. Let me end with the pantun. What pantun? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Yasirli, PhD. Thank you very much, sir, for your speech. May you please remain on the stage. And we also invite our honorable VIP guest, Head of Manpower Planning and Development Agency, Professor Anwar Sanusi, PhD, Secretary General of the Asian Productivity Organization, Mr. Indra Pradana Singawinata, ILO Director for Indonesia Timor-Leste, Mr. Simran Singh, and also would like to invite you to please join our Prime Minister to the stage. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment for us to witness, the moment to officially open the Indonesian Forum on Labor and Productivity, or IFLP 2025. All right, it's time for us to count. And let's count down together in 3, 2, 1. With the sounding of the siren just now, the Indonesian Forum on Labor and Productivity is officially opened. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all of us. And that concludes today's opening ceremony. And we kindly request the Minister of Manpower of the Republic to Indonesia, together with all invited guests, to join a group photo in the form of selfie. All attendees are requested to stand. And to the photographers and cameramen, please capture the moment from the stage. And for your information, we will take a photos in 2 styles. So please set your best smile, everybody. Once again, all attendees are requested to stand. And join us in a group of a photo in the form of a selfie. Everyone, please get ready. In my count, everyone, in 1, 2, and 3. Still with the formal style, in 1, 2, and 3. And please give us the energetic style once again, ladies and gentlemen, in 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to the Minister of Manpower for taking the time to attend today's ceremony. Thank you very much, Bapak. Terima kasih banyak. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seat because we still have another lineup to watch together in this forum. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seat because we still have another agenda to watch together. Indonesia is a land of 1,000 charms, from Sabang to Merauke. Every region has its own colors, rhythms, and stories that shape the rich cultural heritage of the Nusantara. Let us now enjoy together the performance of Pesona Nusantara Dance by Sanggar Seni Yuda Asri. Please enjoy the performance.
ayo rek mlaku-mlaku nang tunjungan. Rek ayo rek rame-rame bebarengan. Mangan tahu kok dicampur nganggo timun. Malam minggu tak apik dibawa ngelamun. Galur kita liwat toko ngumpah foto, masih omong nyenggol-nyenggol hati lega. Sopo ngerti nasib awak lagi muncul, kenal anake sing kotor rujak jenuh.
And thank you to our talented dancers for presenting such a stunning Indonesian traditional dance. What a wonderful way to begin our program, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe one more round of applause for our talented dancer and also for all of us as a proud Indonesian. Boleh kita berikan tepuk tangan sekali lagi yang paling meriah untuk kita semua. And ladies and gentlemen, next on the agenda, let us listen to the opening remarks to be delivered by the Indonesian Association for Public Administration, Ramosinto MDA. The floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Minister of Labor, Professor Yasirli PhD, Head of Barian Bank, Kemnaker, Professor Arwan Sanusi, distinguished speakers, esteemed colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, selamat pagi and good morning, and welcome to this important discussion regarding gig workers, flexibility and vulnerability across various sectors. It is a privilege to have the opportunity to address you on behalf of the Indonesian Association for Public Administration, or IAPA, this morning, as we gather to examine a phenomenon that is transforming labor market, socioeconomic structures, and the future of work, both globally and within Indonesia. In recent times, the gig economy has experienced rapid expansion. A labor market distinguished by short-term contracts, freelance work, or task-based assignment rather than permanent employment. At the forefront of this economy are gig workers, individuals who offer services ranging from ride-hailing and food delivery to graphic design, digital marketing, and software development, often through digital platforms. The model's assurance of flexibility is what appeals to gig workers. They have the discretion to determine their preferred working hours, the amount of work they wish to undertake, and occasionally the specific nature of the task they perform. This liberty is especially appealing to younger generations, students, caregivers, and others seeking additional income or greater autonomy over their daily routines. However, these opportunities are also accompanied by significant challenges pertaining to job security, income stability, and social safeguards. Gig workers, notwithstanding their contribution to the economy, frequently operate within a gray area that blurs the lines between employment and entrepreneurship. Categorized as independent contractors, they often lack many of the same labor protections, social security benefits, or bargaining rights as salaried employees. This paradox, comprising resilience and fragility, is precisely what we intend to explore further in today's program. The importance of gig work has increased substantially in Indonesia. Over the past decade, the rise of platform-based services from ride-hailing applications such as Gojek and Grab to freelance marketplaces and e-commerce logistics has transformed consumer behavior and economic interaction. Gig workers have become an increasingly prevalent presence in the daily lives of millions of Indonesians. Gig platforms serve as a significant source of income for numerous workers, particularly during periods of economic instability such as the coronavirus pandemic. However, this rapid expansion has also prompted significant policy considerations. Who is advocating on behalf of gig workers? How can we attain equitable remuneration and genuine safeguards? What regulatory measures should be implemented for digital platforms? And how can we promote technological advancements while safeguarding the dignity and fairness of workers? It is a complex array of challenges faced by gig workers. Income volatility remains a significant issue as earnings fluctuate with demand and opaque algorithmic systems. Most gig workers are not explicitly protected under social security system, including healthcare, accident benefits, or pension guarantees, and therefore remain vulnerable to unforeseen shocks. These facts necessitate a reassessment of work and social policy in the digital era, and Indonesia has initiated the initial steps. However, there is a need for more comprehensive, evidence-based, and forward-looking frameworks. This is the point at which organizations like the Indonesian Association for Public Administration can assume a significant role. IAPA is an academic and professional organization committed to advancing comprehensive policy analysis, fostering dialogue among government, industry, and civil society, and providing practical recommendations. Amid the gig economy, IAPA can contribute by conducting interdisciplinary research on labor classification, social protection models, and platform governance. We can also assist government with policy briefings. Through the implementation of regulatory innovation labs and by curating best practices from around the world into useful resources for lawmaking. We may also assist by acting as a neutral facilitator, bringing together policymakers, platform companies, worker representatives, and researchers to collaboratively examine how regulatory solutions can be equitable. This conference has thus provided a significant and constructive opportunity for us to deepen our understanding of gig work from a broad range of perspectives: economic, social, legal, technological, and ethical. By bringing together leaders, practitioners, and stakeholders from across society, we aim to generate actionable ideas that can inform improved policies and foster a more resilient future for all workers. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of work has already arrived. Let this conference mark the beginning of meaningful dialogue regarding our shared future, commencing immediately. Thank you, and I wish you a successful and inspiring conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Agus Parmesinto, MDF, for your insightful remarks, ladies and gentlemen. And now, we'd like to inform you that after this, we will have a 10 to 20-minute coffee break, and followed by the talk show session featuring our distinguished speakers. Director of ILO Indonesia Timor-Leste and Secretary General of Asian Productivity Organization, Deputy Undersecretary, Ministry of Human Resources, Malaysia, visiting professor from Kosen University and Director of International Collaboration, INDEF. And for your information, the talk show session will be at 10:30, so we do request to all the attendees to please kindly back to your seat once you grab the refreshment at the foyer. So please enjoy the coffee break and see you in a bit.
Don't be sad, don't you cry, just let go of your pain. And when you fall asleep, know tomorrow's a new day. Don't be sad, don't you cry, just let go of your pain. And when you fall asleep, know tomorrow's a new day. Tonight I'm moving like
Is about our next segment. The talk show is commenced shortly.
I couldn't get away. I was alone thinking I was just fine. Wasn't looking for anyone to be mine. Thought the love was just a fabrication. Train that wouldn't stop at my station. Home alone, that was my consignment. Solitary confinement. So when we met, I was skirting around you. Didn't know I was looking for love until I found you. Didn't know I was looking for love until I found you. Didn't know I was looking for love until I found you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please proceed into the ballroom because our next segment, the talk show, is about to start. Bapak Ibu hadirin seluruh peserta, pada hari ini kami mohon untuk dapat kembali ke tempat duduk Anda dikarenakan rangkaian acara berikutnya yaitu talk show akan segera dimulai.
Thousand stars came into my system.
Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests, welcome back. We hope that you enjoyed the coffee break so far, and we now continue with one of the most anticipated segments of today's agenda, the talk show session of the Indonesia's Forum on Labor and Productivity. This session will provide deeper insight into labor dynamics, productivity enhancement strategies, and the future of work in a rapidly changing global landscape. And this session will be moderated by Mrs. Dr. Putri Riswani Halim, Doctor Fellow at the United Nations University World Institute for Development Economics Research, Helsinki, Finland, and she will guide the discussion, explore key themes, and facilitate an engaging dialogue between our panelists. Without further ado, to lead this insightful session, we invite our moderator, Mrs. Putri Riswani Halim, to take the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator with a warm round of applause.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and esteemed participants. Welcome to the panel discussion session of the Indonesian Forum on Labor and Productivity 2025 with the theme Gig Workers, Flexibility and Vulnerability from Multiple Perspectives. My name is Putri Riswani Halim from the Institute for Development of Economics and Finance, INDEF, and I'm honored to moderate these sessions. Before we begin, allow me introduce the distinguished speakers joining us today. They represent international institutions and national governments, each bringing extensive expertise related to labor markets, productivity, and gig work issues. Our first speaker is Ms. Simringsi, Director of the International Labour Organization Country Office for Indonesia and Timor-Leste. Ms. Singh has served with the ILO since the year 2000, beginning her work in Tanzania, later at the ILO headquarters in Geneva, and subsequently as senior specialist for the Asia Pacific region in Bangkok. Before her current role, she led the ILO country for Sri Lanka and the Maldives. Our second speaker is Dr. Indra Pradana Singawinata, the Secretary General of the Asian Productivity Organization. Dr. Singawinata is currently serving his second term and previously held several senior leadership positions at the Indonesia Infrastructure Guarantee Fund. Our third speaker is Ms. Grace Dairiam, Deputy Undersecretary of the Labor Policy Branch Policy Division at the Ministry of Human Resources Malaysia. Ms. Dairiam has extensive experience in labor policy development, international labor cooperation, and regulatory frameworks within the ministry. Our fourth speaker is Dr. Nou Ha Jung, visiting professor at Kosen University. Dr. Jung holds a PhD in public administration and has dedicated his work to immigration policy, multicultural integration, and migrant welfare. He has founded several migrant support institutions and has received multiple national awards. And finally, the last but not the least, Dr. Imaduddin Abdullah, Director of International Collaboration at the Institute for Development of Economics and Finance, INDEF. His work focused on the digital economy, development economics, and international partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming all of our distinguished speakers. We kindly invite all speakers to come forward, take the stage, and be seated on the chairs prepared. Before we proceed with the presentation, allow me to briefly frame our discussion. Across many countries, gig workers have become a significant part of the labor market. While gig work offers flexibility and new opportunities, many workers still lack access to social security, minimum wage protections, collective bargaining, and predictable working conditions. Countries have adopted various approaches from extending social protection to gig workers, redefining employment relationship, to implementing hybrid regulatory models. The central question is, how can gig work remain flexible and innovative while ensuring the adequate protection and the foundation of decent work? Our panel today will explore these issues from international and national perspective. Each speaker will deliver a 15 to 20 minute presentation followed by a 20 minutes question and answer session with the audience. So we begin to the presentation session. The first one is from Ms. Simring Singh from the ILO. For Ms. Simring Singh, the floor is yours.
Terima kasih and selamat siang. Yeah. Okay, so I will do my best on a topic that is extremely fluid and complicated, but the conversation of the day. So I'll try to also frame it in terms of evidence-based policy making, which is amazing opening, very inspiring from Professor Yassirli this morning. Is someone controlling the slides? Can I do this and the slide will move? Yeah, okay. Can I get the next slide? Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to focus on is what are some of the emerging trends that we're seeing in this very quick fast-paced, shifting environment, what are the opportunities and risks of particularly platform work, which is also another word for gig work? And what are some of the key definitional issues, whether it's in legal or policy frameworks, in terms of, what does it mean? Are they employed or are they not employed, these workers? And, give you an up-to-date information on how hard the ILO, as a standard-setting organization, is working to try to pass a standard, an international standard for this very tricky area. So it's a standard on decent work in the platform economy. And what could be some of the next steps? Okay, so in terms of trends, let's remember, the next slide, that the digital platforms have grown like 100-fold in a span of maybe 10, 12 years. So there were 193 back in 2010, and now in 2023, 1,070. And I'm sure it's even higher in 2025. And this includes both online platforms that facilitate the online work that you do, workforces that are all over the place, so they're not in one particular location, and also at the same time location-based platforms, so like these hubs that you have, data hubs, and which connect workers with clients from within that area, but generally all over a country or even across definitely across international borders. So according to the World Bank, the online workers, there's some 435 million. So that's not small. That's 12.5% of the global workforce. So we're talking about a huge segment of the workforce. And here in Indonesia, maybe you represent 10% of the global workforce. I would say, if you do my math is not always very good, but if you look at these numbers, they're still a little dated, but I think the numbers will go higher. 4 million on, two-wheelers, 4.2 transport, then you have Gojek, 3.1. So it's a huge segment of the world workforce, but also a huge segment and growing, of the Indonesian labor force. It's really changing the landscape of jobs. It's creating new ones, and it's also being captured actually compared to old ways in which the labor force survey, Sakarnas, used to try to capture this data. It was missing, but now you actually have a code to be able to try to recognize them. And they're looking at new areas. It's not just the transportation workers, the Gojeks and Grabs, but also those that develop apps, for example. I think Professor Yassirli talked about the creative economy. How do you capture that? Very tricky. And also virtual assistants, and you see that more with AI related fields. Next. So the good news with platform, and you hear this a lot, is, it allows flexibility. And sometimes, I must say, a few years ago, especially when I was in my last duty station in Sri Lanka, where women's labor force participation was really, really low. People say, it's great, it'll allow women more time to work, it'll allow this and that, but we have to be really clear that it's actually not necessarily the golden bullet or the silver bullet to resolve that, because of the timings. The flexibility comes sometimes if there's not enough regulations with a cost. But on the positive side, yes, flexibility, and it allows workers and potentially women, those with disabilities, to take a good work-life balance, care responsibilities. And it's also just creating new opportunities, jobs that exist today that didn't exist 10 years ago, which is pretty good. I mean, we need that, right? We need new kind of jobs and, non-traditional forms of employment, as we would call them. But you can see there's two positives, but I have a lot of warning, seven risks, not negatives, but 7 risks that we need to be really mindful of as we look at the future of work. We shouldn't be looking at it through what we call rose-colored glasses, rose-tinted glasses, but with really measured understanding of what are the risks. We do often find that many of these gig workers, platform workers, have lower remuneration, earning below minimum wages, bad days especially, right? And they also have work insecurity, and there's no way to resolve any kind of disputes. There's no transparency on the terms of their employment if they're considered employed. And, you know, it's really risky if you get a bad review on the app. Your career, I mean, I wouldn't, whatever, your job is really at risk. So it's very precarious in that sense. And they certainly, it's very rare for them to have the kind of protections needed, like social protection, social security. Oftentimes they lack health insurance. Sick, what happens? You have to take care of a family. You know, you get sick, you don't have sick leave compensation. You're out of commission and not able to work for potentially a long time or cover your medical costs. So I think that's really a very important risk factor that policymakers need to think of. And then the other risk is the autonomy and control over work. You cannot just pick and choose what apps you use or what platforms you use. You actually are forced to use a certain platform. And there's a real risk, and I think especially now as AI is growing all over the place, and we're talking about a lot of things like data protection and things, and privacy. So there's a non-stop monitoring. So back in the day, you know, we've criticized being in a factory and putting in cameras and watching workers, you know, are they working, how long are they going to the bathroom, whatever. And we always said that's not a good practice, you know. But now, it's non-stop because you're online and you're being forced to use that online platform's, you know, control measures. Also, a supply of workers. So it's word of mouth. Oh yeah, let's all get a, I mean, and I heard this everywhere. In my last duty station, all of a sudden, what we call those three-wheeler tuk-tuk drivers, that was the second or primary profession in addition to, I mean, nothing else, basically. And that was where Gen Z was going. And here, you have the same thing with the Grabs and Gojeks and everything. So it's these young, especially Gen Z level, that are not necessarily going the traditional pathways, and it's easy and it doesn't take much, and so they really overcrowd the market in terms of need. And that's a real risk if you have an oversupply of labor. Another risk is, of course, representation. They usually don't have representation from unions that might, or associations, not even cooperatives. Any of those ways that they can collectively organize and negotiate the terms of work. And then the conditions, working conditions can be very long, very erratic, night work, etc., isolated, and everything. So the key right now that is at the heart of the debate in setting a standard, and what all, I would say almost all ILO member states are struggling to do, and this is the big debate. How do you classify them? Are they self-employed or are they employee? That's the bottom line. That's the basic, most fundamental conversation that's taking place. And the risk level increases according to our analysis. So if you classify them as self-employed, they will be at higher risk because those 7 risks that I mentioned get stronger as you go to a self-employed status. But if you go to employee status, you tend to have more protections, but potentially less autonomy. So they're both sides of this case. Most countries around the world, and generally most platform workers, are falling currently in the category of self-employed. So they don't get the many protections, they're not registered, etc. The definitions matter. Next. So one of the key ways to define whether they're self-employed or, you know, employees is to go back in history a little bit, not too far, but to go to a core standard and nature of what ILO does. We have conventions, employment convention, but we also come up with recommendations. And you can, this definition would not change. Employment relationship recommendation. Even if it's from 2006, it doesn't matter. If you can just apply it to gig workers or platform work. And there's two basic elements. One is, how is their performance at work measured? So what are the contractual conditions? What are the, with the worker, if there's a contract? It stipulates, what they're supposed to do, what type of equipment is supposed to be supplied to them, what their working hours should be. All of those things are part of a common understanding. So that would measure their performance. So suppose you have a contract and say 8 hours of work, 5 days a week, right? But someone shows up and comes for 2 hours, 1 day a week. It's a performance issue. Whereas in this case, it's a bit tricky, but basically performance at work and contractual obligations are very important. And the second is, of course, wages and remuneration. What are they paid? Is it very clear? Is it payment in kind? And this is something that we need to think about going forward also, especially maybe not for transportation platform workers, but for care workers in particular. Those that are especially taking care of younger children or very elderly care, they're not often paid in remuneration. It's mostly in kind. So we really have to look at this aspect. Gig workers might get paid, but it's still the policy of how the payment structure is made and the wages are given, if it's wages or payment, needs to be. So these are the two areas that really are the fundamental source that we need to look at as we go forward. Now moving on to some real world examples, because there has been progress. Next. Sorry, okay, this is a bit more detailed than what I expected. So one is Spain, as you can see. They have something called a rider's law that was introduced, and they identified that those that are delivering food are considered employees. So some would say this is probably the most leaning towards employees. And then you have, please keep going. No, just go back. Sorry, I'm going to read through this because my slide is not quite in line with what my notes say. Okay, can we go back? No, back. Okay. In 2024 in the EU, also there was a directive. I need directive on platform work, which presumes an employment relationship. So now obviously I know in Asia we say, why are we looking at examples from Europe? Can we get an example from a less advanced economy, etc.? But let me just share these with you because it's very important. Even advanced economies are struggling with the same definitional issue and how to legislate this stuff. In California, also, the state of California, United States, in 2024, last year, AB 5 law presumes a worker is an employee, unless the hiring entity can prove that the worker is a contractor, independent contractor. So the onus falls on the hiring entity, the company that's supposedly hiring them or enlisting their work. So that's a very interesting angle. Now, our neighbor here, Singapore, also in 2024, came up with a Platform Worker Act. And it actually doesn't say whether you're an employee or self-employed. It says that Platform Workers Act, it allows and ensures that retirement benefits, so pension, can be included. Work injury compensation is included. Occupational safety and health protections, as well as collective representation and collective bargaining in the ride-hailing and delivery services. So basically the transport sector they've done a major deep dive. So I would suggest looking perhaps at Singapore example for a bit of inspiration. Now in Uruguay, this year, very recently, hot off the press across Latin America region, they've also come up with a law that sets minimum protection standards for workers performing tasks through digital platforms, focusing again on delivery services and urban passenger transport. So you can see there's a trend here. Most of whatever that shows most protections for workers tend to be in the transportation, ride-hailing, delivery services sector. But it's only one. Now, final example from around the world is from Brazil. Its economy is in some ways quite similar, and maybe Indonesia will find more relevance looking at what Brazil did. Back in 2017 already, they did kind of a hybrid between a self-employed and an employee, and they called it an intermittent employment contract. So kind of a temp contract, but still a contract, right? So this hybrid category, it allows employers to engage workers to provide services on a non-continuous basis as an employee. So this is interesting because that gives flexibility to the employers to also dictate and not be stuck. You hire someone and you're stuck for life, even if the nature of the job changes, etc. In terms of court decisions, you have Germany, as you can see on the screen, where there's also the legislative area that can give us some guidance, pointers as to how to look forward, where you have lack of freedom over time and place, which is an employment indicator that has been legislated. It's not okay. In the UK, the Supreme Court also identified Uber drivers as workers that are neither salaried nor employed, the same as Brazil actually. In New Zealand, just recently again, this month, the Supreme Court ruled that 4 Uber drivers were employees while on the app, concluding that factors like integration control outweighed the driver's ability to choose their own hours. So in a way, it says that they're almost fully fledged employees. So that's important one to look at. And then in Sweden, the Supreme Court, again earlier this year, it had a hybrid decision for couriers, those that are transporting and delivering items, where platform companies' control and supervision create a subordinate relationship, they ruled. It's a subordinate relationship. But the Working Hours Act does not apply because the couriers had autonomy over working hours. So, friends and colleagues and students, yes, I'm almost finished. It's a fluid definition and you have to look at it basically in terms of the country context and where the employment is generated and what makes sense. The economies are very different, and a country like Indonesia as well, with the diversity regionally, it's quite important to look at it very carefully. The next one, please. So the international standard that's being set right now on digital labor platforms. So ILO's been working very hard, and this is a very hot button, very difficult, let's put it this way, conversation. ILO is engaging all its member states. We have about 186 plus member states and tripartite groups with very diverse interests and very diverse realities. So standard setting, coming up with conventions, etc., are not ever easy. But this one is particularly difficult as well. But we're making good progress in trying to facilitate and give our member states, our constituents, the right information to shape a standard on this. So as of last year, a white paper on law and practice, some of these examples that I gave you were distributed. There was a questionnaire that went to all member states to answer. And then earlier this year, they have color-coded, yellow report was produced that gave an analysis of those responses. And I know Indonesia really gave a lot of responses on this and what could be some potential conclusions. This June, in the International Labour Conference, all member states had a discussion and adoption of maybe most of the conclusions. And then later a Brown report with a draft was produced in light of the discussion that took place in the Labour Conference. And next year in March, during our governing body, a blue report, so with a revised text will be provided with the aim that by June next year, which is not very far away, this will be adopted, inshallah. Inshallah. Okay, just to say the one thing that's been agreed on, I mean, there's several things that have been agreed on, but the one very important one for Indonesia to consider also that is a shared definition, something that employers, workers, member states, government all agree on, is on the term, the definition of what does digital labor platform mean. So can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So here's the definition. Yeah? Very important to understand this because it sets the framework for your deliberations. It basically recognizes a legal person, or where applicable under national law, a natural person, that through digital, it's on the person, the human being. Through that person, through digital technologies, using automated decision-making systems, organizes and or facilitates work performed by persons for pay, remuneration, for provision of services upon request of recipient or requester. And it also clarifies that it is regardless of whether that work is performed online or in a specific geographical location. So that basically means like Gojek drivers that are not in a specific online location, you know? It's done online, but it's both sides. And also agreed principle has been identified in which each member state shall take measures to ensure that digital platform workers enjoy fundamental principles and rights at work. So just because you're in the digital platform work, you cannot start doing forced labor and child labor or discrimination. And we've seen a lot of discussion right now on women and digital protections and things like that. It's very important to see that because that would constitute in many ways violence and you know, for underage children under the age of 18, for example, would be a child labor violation. So I think these are very important things to keep in mind, the fundamental principles and rights at work. So now, I think this is my almost last slide. Next one. So where do we stand now? Where we still have issues related to OSH and violence and harassment. I just mentioned that. Can we go to the next one? So specific provisions are being negotiated on issues that are still prickly. They include issues related to labor protection, social security, representation and social dialogue. Are they allowed to collectively bargain? Privacy and personal data. How do you resolve disputes if the supposed employer is based in California, the worker is based in Java? How do you resolve disputes? That's a very important one. How can you ensure compliance and enforcement? Is that the role of labor inspectors, or who is it that's supposed to ensure and flow, especially if it's across borders and across country jurisdictions? So where does the legislation end? Is it an international jurisdiction? Is it, you know, a national jurisdiction? There's very, very key things that need to be stated. So member states, is it their job to do this? So next steps is finalization and approval of this. Go back. I'm not saying thank you yet, almost. Finalization and approval of the standard, like I mentioned, next year in June. To really continue more extensively to work on social dialogue, to eliminate this kind of very gray area, uncertainty, to ensure fair competition and workers' protection. And here I want to say that employers in particular want to have when they say fair competition, they want fair access to markets. So they don't want regulations all of a sudden in a country that restrict them to be able to access international platforms, etc. So we kind of need all countries to agree on market access parameters, and that's a tricky one, but it's a very important one for platforms. And then, of course, on workers' protection, beyond just those fundamental principles that I talked about, like not child labor, not thing. And then, of course, the next step is embedding it into national labor legislation. And I must say, I'm really happy in many ways Indonesia is ahead of the game. Actually, your own efforts over the years, well, especially the last year, have been very accelerated to try to come. Maybe it's a sign I need to stop talking. But no, I just want to say that Indonesia is really well advanced in this discussion, very aware, and I think this type of conversation is so timely because it'll help also your enactment of national regulation on gig workers and platform work. Right now, that regulation is only focusing on transportation workers. But if it gets the basics right, these definitional issues, shared issues, right, I see no reason why that regulation cannot very easily be adapted and updated to include other kinds of online and platform gig workers going forward. So with that, I will end, and yeah. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Ms. Semren Singh, for the insightful presentation. For the next one is from Dr. Indra Pradana Singawinata. I take your stage.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and all colleagues, friends. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hopefully I can finish it less than 20 minutes because some of my slides already been covered by Ms. Singh. Thank you so much. So I just want to give you a brief. This is from APO perspective, because Asia Productivity Organization is the organization in the world probably that really focus on the productivity. We are established in 1961, now consists of 20 member countries, all in Asia Pacifics. Malaysia, Korea, Japan, and is part of our members. And this is based on our 10 to 15 years of research. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, okay. This is the impact of the gig economy. That based on our research, this is what is the aspect of the gig economics that finally really attract the Gen Z, the young generation, to get into. First is accessibility and inclusion. And this has not only happened in developing country, even in Japan. During the COVID-19, many of employees, especially those who are in the young generation, young employees, they're not now based in Tokyo, they're based in outside Tokyo, Chiba, Kanagawa, etc., because they can work with digital. This is the trend that they have, but at the moment, this has also become the issues because in majority, based on the regulations, the work from home in some institution, especially government institution, still not allowed by regulation. So this is still quite big issue in Japan. And the second is flexibility and autonomy of the workers. Ms. Singh already mentioned it. Whether you are self-employed or you are being employee. Flexibility and etc. That is the demand coming from the young generation, to work more independently. And the next slide, please. Okay, and however, the productivity gains based on the research also is still there, especially for those who are creating their own business and creating their own industry for the some value chain, even some have connected with the global value chain, and they become the independent for themselves. Next slide, please. This is the 4 possible channels. Because gig economy at the moment, at the end, they are also creating the efficiency, reducing of transaction costs, labor force participation, because everyone can join by digital platform that Ms. Singh just mentioned, and it is true, it is trying to happen now. Geographically inclusion and firm efficiency. And now from this side, we know, but Ms. Singh already covered also, the risk. The risk that we know, please jump into the risk, please, the slides of the risk. Yes, this one, income insecurity, volatility, social protection, and definitely regulatory gaps. Based on our research from 15 APO member countries, even though the advanced country to the less developing country, still, this still exists, missing. For me, it's quite surprising. So, doesn't mean those who are in advanced country, don't face these issues. It is still income security, lack of social protection, and regulatory gaps. Now, I want to jump into the slides of the research about the gig economies in some APO member countries. Again, please, move forward, move forward. Okay, stop there, sorry. This is also the gig economy in Indonesia looks like. I'm sorry, probably this is quite not comfortable data, but this is based on our compiled from various data, even from the Indonesian itself. So we can see, yes, about the income, about the, well, fairness, etc., is still quite a big challenges in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Next slides. Yes, we have to balancing the flexibility with the protection. Ms. Singh already mentioned. Benefits of gig economy, we have that. However, the legal protections is still the challenges. And this is also, if you see the point, the sustainable gig economy, there was one forum discussion we held in Tokyo, and if I'm not mistaken, even in Malaysia, with Malaysia Productivity Corporation, MPC Malaysia, yes. The very basic question, I think, actually I want to like also to ask all the stakeholders in Indonesia, whether gig economy actually can be the backbone of the economic growth, or finally, is just a very short term of the industry. Because many of them using, if you remember, I think all of you still remember, the raising of startup in 2005, 2010, that finally closing down. Would it be the same? We don't know yet. But this is actually the question that raised in that forum, whether actually the gig economy will be the backbone, will be something that the country can hold as one of the big supporters of the economic or not. Or this is just, what do you call it, missing, ad hoc basis? Numbers, yes, like a stock exchange, something. Okay, next. Yes, this is based on our research and our the very used research from by gig economy. So Indonesia at the moment is 1.7%, while if you see Philippines is 22% of that. But this is by what? Digital platform, and the definition of the gig worker itself is not only, the low level skill. I'm really sorry to use this terminology. It's not for the low level skill, but they also starting to get into the global value chain. So they tap into. I give you example. You have a Coca-Cola probably, Ms. Jung. So these vendors, these small, medium enterprises vendors, which is most of them is owned by the young people. They're willing to get into your value chain, but in a certain standard, by using what? Digital platform. So this is actually one of the very good example. Kenya is 2 million, but is covered like almost 5% of their total workers. India, the biggest member probably in the world now. India is also the founding fathers of APO. Consists of 7.7 million, and most of them is online freelancing. So we can see the platform that usage. Indonesia, still ride-hailing, delivery, freelancing, etc. Next slide, please. This is the overview. Indonesia gig workers, Philippine gig economy, Kenya's, India. If you see that India is projected to triple in 2030. Indonesia itself is still growing, but we don't know the number yet. But India is already projected will be tripled by now in 2030. So it's a very, very, very high jumping. Kenya itself. Can you see the value that they contribute to the country? So it's big. What I'm saying is very quite significant in value. Next slides. So the approach in India, Kenya, Philippines, in order to, what Ms. Ong already talked about, how to formalize, how to regulate it, how to make these workers more have a security in terms of income, health care, and etc. That's why in India, they have the legal recognition in 2020, let's call it a Code on Social Security. So there's a mandates platform to contribution to social security funds. In the Philippines, they have enact or the Freelance Workers Protection Act, ensuring the contracts, timely, labor guideline, delivery, etc. And Kenya, they have a roadmap, the three-party forum for the gig workers in terms of the legal amendment and extent of the protection. This is from the case study from 3 countries. Next. This is the policy recommendation for Indonesia that actually this is also part of the master plan of Indonesia 2025-2030 that I already handing over to the government of Indonesia in the last month in October actually. Next, please. So this is the policy of recommendations, establishing the legal recognition for gig workers, and I believe we are on the way, we are on track at the moment. Integrating gig workers into the BPJS for the health, pension, etc. And developing, this is very challenging, missing, and our distinguished speakers, clear employment categories. Because, like I mentioned before, this is actually the basic question. Whether we really want to formalize and make these gig workers as a backbone with a very strong fundamental, whether these sectors of the gig workers really contribute to the productivity growth that finally give the contribution to the economic growth, this is something that we have to define together. Clear employment categories. Next, ensuring fairness, already covered also from our previous presenters. Next. Safety, health, protection, insurance, definitely. This is actually one of the things that the Philippines, our colleagues in Philippines already starting, and they show their case study during our annual meeting APO in Seoul last time. They also mentioned about this. And next, Strengthening the worker voice representative, still debatable, still hot issue, because this also will be related to who? To the investors. Like it or not, investment equal to investors. Investors only want to have four aspects: the margin, payback period, ROI, risk, of course the control. As simple as that. That investors. That's the reality. Next. Skill development career path, we already talked about it, how we make the development and the career path for these gig workers in the future. And next. This is what Madam Singh just covered actually in the previous, the role of digital platform. Frankly speaking, honestly speaking, even when we talk about this in our last annual meeting in EPO in Seoul in October, we even still have a debate about what? AI. Whether this AI finally really recognized as the formal tool. It's very simple. Whether finally the education system really can accept AI as a formal tool or not is still a big question mark. So about the role of digital platform, Madam saying it's not that easy, but we go toward that. At the moment, we just use ad hoc basis. Those who are related and relevant with our industry, we use it. But sometimes we don't make a further research or development or improvement whether this digital platform can be really used or not, or can be maximized or not. Next. Conclusion. Next, again. Yes, expand the market access, like it or not. It's realistically, access definitely have a positive impact to the economics. Yes, but you see number two, here is. There is still a risk that already also raised by Madam Singh. And definitely the policy goal that we need to preserve this gig workers industry. Next. Next again. Thank you very much, and hopefully there's less than 20 minutes. Thank you so much. I just give you the data and the case study, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Singawinata, for the insightful presentation. And the next one is from Dr. Grace Daibrian. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Moderator, all speakers. Thank you to everyone who's present here. It's a pleasure to be here representing Ministry of Human Resources Malaysia to share with you the Malaysian framework. The Malaysian framework with regards to our gig workers bill. Next, please. Okay, this is some digital economic development in Malaysia, just to show the labor force in Malaysia. This is based on quarter 2025. We have 16.7 million, and out of it, we have 3.45 million informal workers. However, this data is 2023. And MDEC, Malaysian Digital Economic Corporation, provided the statistic for the gig economic platform providers, which stands around 232 in August 2024. And in budget 2024, MDEC again stated that 1.12 million workers, Malaysians are involved in the gig economy. And under our Self-Employment Social Security Act 2021, SOCSO, we say it SOCSO, there are, this data is June, but for now, for November, I think there are almost 800,000 plus overall contributors to 20 sectors in this SOCSO, but That is the number, as you see in the screen, for gig workers as in June 2025, because it has been made compulsory for P-hailing and he-hailing to contribute to SOCSO. Next slide, please. Problem statement. Why did Malaysia take this step forward? Simple. There's no dedicated platform for a gig worker to go and redress his issues. A good example is the case by Loh Guet Ching versus the Minister of Human Resources, 2022. The case was brought up to federal court. However, there is no employee-employer relationship. They do not fall into contract of service. So where do they go? So basically the current labor laws only protect employers with contract of service, not for service. And I think this is another important matter which is always shared by our minister, YB Stephen Sim, in many platforms. The tragic incident in Elmina jet crash. Almost 10 people died in the incident. 2 of them were gig workers. 1 of them contributed to SOCSO, 1 did not. So sadly, the person who contributed to the SOCSO, the family is receiving the benefit to date. So these are some of the key additional trigger points. I would not say these are the only trigger points, but additional trigger points where the ministry, the government felt that we have to do something for the gig workers. Next, please. This is benchmarking studies. So many studies have been done. But on our part, once we wanted to come up with our bill, some comparative study was done to see how we can take into consideration some of the available rules, regulation, and practices throughout the world. Next. Okay. For everyone's information, the gig workers bill is available online. We call it the blue bill actually. This is the blue bill waiting for the consent, the royal consent, the blue bill. There are many articles, there are many summaries, there are many reviews already given to this blue bill, even though we have not enforced it. That is plus point, not to say negative, but it's something for us to ponder for the future. So what I do not want to elaborate on the bill in detail. I'm not from a legal background. I want to caveat that first. So what is important? I want to highlight on the 4 important matters relating to the gig workers. Basic protection for worker. Who are gig workers? That is what we wanted to answer, I believe. Description on earnings. What do they get? How much do they earn? How much deduction? We had so many engagement sessions that there's always an issue raised. They do so many rides, but then end of the day they go back home without any pay. They don't have, any earnings for the day. So that's another element. Redress venue. A good example was given just now. Not only that is one of the case, but there are so many cases I think received by our labor department, but then we can't move forward. So that's why we are introducing the dispute resolution mechanism, and of course the social protection. For now it's for P and he hailing, but we intend to, through the bill, it will be extended to all platform workers, but of course other sectors who are self-employed can do it voluntary. And I also want to touch on OSH actually, Occupational Safety and Health, which is also part of the bill, where the ministry, through our Occupational Safety and Health Department, will be coming up for a guideline for the platform to follow up and to implement and to ensure the gig workers follow this particular guideline. Next slide. This is a summary. We put the word draft because we are waiting for the royal consent, as I mentioned. We have 10 parts, 112 clauses, and basically 65 pages of the blue bill. Next. Okay, objective. I think I just mentioned briefly just now the four areas to ensure fundamental labor protection for gig. Basic protection, that is the key of this bill. We are not looking into the overall mechanism of the gig industry because we don't have the capacity, but I think it's to focus on basic protection, what we can do now at the initial stage. Next. So of course, definition of gig worker is provided in the bill. Has to be a citizen or permanent resident, enter into service agreement with the contracting party, either platform or in our bill there's non-platform as well, and receives income. Next. So these are the platforms. So basically our gig worker covers platform and non-platform. Platform, we have e-hailing, p-hailing, and of course other platform providers such as the famous ones I think I would like to quote here, Shopee, Foodpanda, we have Troopers in Malaysia, Betriku, GoGet, I mean the list is of course with MDEC around 200 plus, 232 other platform providers including e-hailing and p-hailing. Next, this is a bold move where we have actually included non-platform, but 9 services only. It's in the schedule. It's in the schedule, meaning it can be expanded in the future depending on the needs and demand of the industry. So these are the non-platform services which has been included in the bill. Acting, filmmaking activities, music-related activities, aesthetics, photography, videography, care, rehabilitation and care, prenatal, postnatal, journalism, and translation. These are the services we have included to be part of the enforcement later. Next. Okay, the definition of contracting entity. The issue now is you don't have a contract, you don't have contract of service. So we have to ensure that something is available. And who can make this, can be the contracting entity? Individual, companies, or even platform product and the platform providers. Next. Service agreement, this is between the parties involved. To distinguish, because of the unique of this industry, that we need to distinguish between a normal contract of service. So we are using the term service agreement to separate it from our existing legislation, which is contract of service for Employment Act, our labor ordinances, Sabah Sarawak, our occupational safety and health, and of course our contract of employment in our industry relationship. So we have service agreement. Next. Okay, I'll just bring to briefly on before and after gig bill, what we expect to see. Of course, before there's flexibility, yes, it will continue even after the bill. When we did our engagement, that was the biggest concern raised by many stakeholders, especially the gig workers, or even the platform raised the issue. There will be too many rules, regulations to be followed. You know, the work won't be flexible. This work, gig industry is all about flexibility. But I think the flexibility is there. And as I mentioned earlier, it's all about basic protection, the basic that we need to do now for the gig workers. So that is what we expect from this bill. And next, dispute resolution, you did not have a place to go before this. You were turned down even at federal court, federal court. So at least after this, there will be a clear process for handling dispute matters, grievances. For platform, you have to go through the internal grievances mechanism, okay, and then it goes to the industrial relations and to gig tribunal, which we intend to form under this bill, the gig tribunal. And then, however, for the 9 services, they can go straight to our industrial relations department. Of course, it's a big challenge for our industrial relation department because we, at the moment, we do not have additional officers or additional budget to implement this, but it's all part, it's already accepted as part of the responsibilities. Next slide. Consultative council. This is where it will provide a platform, a tripartite platform for the workers, platform owners, and maybe, based on the services mentioned, associations to actually to sit and discuss on the minimum standard orders. How do they want to move forward with regards to their minimum standards on work related. Next, I think social security I have covered. I think what will happen now, it's already compulsory for e-hailing. It will be extended to all platform and hopefully even to the services, the non-platform in future, depending on the consultation. And of course, I like to touch on occupational safety here as well, where the responsibility will be given to the platform as well as the workers once the order is out. Next, this is just to mention on all the penalties we have with regards to failure to meet the obligation once the law is enforced, hopefully soon, next year. Next, this is, all right, next. Thank you. That's a very small, short presentation. I hope next. Thank you. All right.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Grace. And the next one is from Dr. Chung. The floor is yours.
안녕하세요. Very nice to meet you. I'm very honored present about Korean situations. We also it's very helpful from ILO research or termination. It's also very good. And APO or another country, we always study abroad. That's why my presentation almost the same. That's why I just present show about Korean situations. Okay, next. Okay, determination of the current in Korea. Wide or broad determination, termination, or narrow is almost the same because already studied with all from material from ILO or another country. Okay, next. This is Korean government use definition about the platform workers. Use a device like a smartphone or mobile or the laptop. And narrow definition is important. It's crowd workers and on-demand workers. And crowd workers is not so much in Korea. And now the issue is on-demand workers. Next. Because we next with this statistic, you can show now in Korea wide definition of the platform workers is almost 10%, 3 million, but narrow is just 3%. But Okay, narrow on demand. It is almost all of them is working the delivery or transportation. Okay, next with with this this is you can see narrow definition that delivery and transportation. This is just major because the major issue is about the delivery and transportation, and especially another counseling, IT or home care, creative workers. But the main issue is about the delivery in Korea. Okay, next. Okay, we have to control the technology in this generation. So if we cannot control the technology, that technology will control the human. That's why, like ILO already said, platform is no more intermediator, but became controller. Already became the controller. That's why the Korean government now just the issue. The person low state income and long time work and human rights and weak social protection. That's why from this presentation, I will focus on all four issues, but more than I will focus for the social protection. Next. In Korea, this statistic is from the 2021. The monthly income in Korea is the monthly working day is now 40 hours. Every day 8 hours for 5 days. That's why 40 hours they can work, but and weekly working hours is 40 hours. But they are more than work, but their income is low from the very low from minimum wage. Now, 2025 is the minimum wage. It's 2 million, more than 2 million. It means 20 juta rupiah. Mungkin. Next. Yeah. They encountered many difficult problem. Non-pay didn't pay 22% and allocation of the work beyond the contract, 50%. Like there's so many problems they now face so many problems. But they can counseling, or is there any system to conciliation? But almost the 50%, almost 50% they can conciliation. They cannot counseling to with cannot receive help, or it's a very big problem. And next. Yeah, in Korea is for social insurance is very good, but almost of the every formal or informal workers they have to register for social insurance. First is national pension, and second is national health insurance, and second is employment insurance. Fourth is industrial accident compensation insurance. First and second is generally anyone can register, but the important is the workers. Third and fourth, employment insurance. When they lost, or every workers they live with their salary, but when they lost the job, employment insurance give almost 6 months and give the 70% salary. But now we can see any slide next that the platform workers almost 20 or 30% just they can apply or register for the employment insurance. And industrial accident compensation, the insurance, that is also important because deliverer or the platform workers when there is so many accident. But this accident compensation insurance, all medical clinic always it can be recovered, and when they must hospital, when they stay in the hospital, 70% salary also can give, and another when they lost something. Okay, for example, when they lost the one hand, when someone has, they can get a salary 3 juta, 3 million, but after accident, lost the one hand because of the accident, they cannot work it's like before. So just can get money just 1 million, but the different 2 million, it will be given from until it gets the working age until 65 or that, or one time just can be given. Like that, it's social insurance is important. But next, in Korea, that now so many employment insurance, they almost totally just okay, simple, just almost 50%. They enrolled from platform or it's very unstable. So, okay, next. Someone said, my wish is to grow and all die naturally. I don't want to lose my life on the road in the course of the delivery work. Next. Okay, in this year, within 6 months, 16 delivery workers were dead. Most of them is from Bedare Minjok in the one application, the platform, biggest platform, the green colors. Green colors in there. And Kupang is almost the second platform. Most of them from there. In Korea, so many Korean population is now more than 50 million Korean population, but almost half of them use delivery application, like the platform. And from that, in 1 year, our population of Korea, four times they use the platform and delivery system. And from there, almost 2 trillion won, they use a card. So this business model is so big, but even though they lost their life, but the platform company never been receive any penalty or responsibility. It's a very big problem. And insurance, even when they cannot receive insurance, social insurance, how can live there? Okay, next. That's why now government Korea also very try to help support or help and make the system. Before 2022, industry accident insurance was 36%, now 46%. And now there is a Gyeonggi province. Local government want to help them for industrial accident insurance. Want to help 80% will be support from local government. That's why so many people want to receive help. Next. Okay, policy response is almost the same from another our country, and the issue also same like that. Okay, next. determination category was, determination next. Is there really employee or, because in Korea, Korea also almost the same. All workers, now system are prepared for formal workers. But now in regular or informal workers, also in Korea now 76%. But now this is the third sector. So how to call them, employee or self-employed? That's why the determination is very important. Now, next. That's why they're working without contract, almost 30%. They're working, but without contract. But when change contract, the more important is when they're changing contract, almost 50%, there's no announcement to the workers. And another, they don't know. So more than almost 70%, they don't know how to change this my contract. This is a problem. The next. The insurance have to cover their life. Next. Then now in Korea, so many discuss about the algorithm, the AI system. AI is now control their work. When the distribution is not good. That's why all algorithm give the work. Because of this, every workers, the fee is different. So I want to study, but me too very difficult to understand about the AI algorithm. Okay, next time we can talking about more detail. I will talking about this about fee or that. Next. Okay, about the algorithm, we have to. When we talk to the company or the platform company, you have to open your system, but they said this is a secret. But they have to open and have to teaching to the workers. This system will be going like that, operate like this system. They have to work together. Worker and participator, worker. Company and worker have to work together. Next. Now, the platform workers, the problem is not technology. The most problem is monopoly. In Korea, there is a very big platform company like Kakaoto for the transportation. Kakaoto, almost 90%, more than 90% Koreans use Kakaoto, and the Betare Minjo is a delivery platform. It's the biggest. They can control all, even though it's not good or pay late or it's not good, but don't want to contract with them, but there's no choice. Okay, next. That's why in Korea, I will talking. So now local company or the Korean government want to make public platform. Now we want to try, but not yet. There is a discussion. Okay, next. This is very important. That's why workers, they have to make union. This is the D zone. D is a big company and there is a union. But E zone is a small and middle company and there is no union. Quite different. Yeah. The salary or one pension, almost the 90% and 30%. It's quite different. It means every company the workers have to make some union, like a union. Okay, next. Yeah, the career system is almost the same issue. Next. Yes, we have to making platform workers a good system. This is not just the one type, one occupation. This is for all working model for the future. Okay, saya belajar dari profesor saya. I learned from my professor that the good public policy is like a face or good news, because we can do my major role public policy, public administration. We have to make good system. It is love. It is good news, like a religion. We have to focus. We have to try to make the good policy, because one of the efforts Indonesian government. That's why we gathering here. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Thank you for Dr. Jung, and the next one is Dr. Imaduddin Abdullah. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As a last speaker, I think I have equally easy and difficult task. Difficult because I think we are approaching lunchtime, so I have to finish my presentation less than 15 minutes, yeah. But also I think it's easy because all the materials already covered by previous speakers, from the international perspective, from Malaysia, from South Korea, from other ASEAN countries. But I think still, because the title of this session is to provide multi-perspective, so I would like to explain from the perspective of a think tank. So I would like to introduce INDEF. So INDEF is a think tank based in Jakarta. We already around 30 years. So this year we celebrate the 30 years anniversary. Yeah. So thank you. So we provide a policy recommendation based on research, and this is something that I would like to present is based on the research that we just published, I think last month. Could you please move to the next slide? Yeah. So this is the policy brief that we just published last month on the recommendation on the gig or platform workers bill. So this is a paper that jointly developed by INDEF and academician or lecturer from Universitas Gadjah Mada. And then this is, you can download this policy brief from our website. Yeah, go to the next slide, please. So here I think I would like to start with the expansion of the solo self-employed workers, or in Indonesia we call it as pekerja mandiri tunggal. And you can see that over the past 20 years, Indonesia has experienced what we call as a major transformation in the structure of work. More and more workers are relying on the individually contracted job, especially through digital platform as their main source of income. What we used to be considered as a marginal and temporary work now has become a major channel of employment, particularly in the service sector. Flexible access is one of the main reasons why behind of this growth, and this allow people to enter to labor market pretty quickly than before. And you can see this from the slide. It's that the platform workers fall under category of pekerja mandiri tunggal, which now already represent 20.75% of the labor force, or equivalent to around 31.5 million people. So here you can see that this trend reinforced that the gig economy now becomes a critical pathway for job, not only as a niche market or niche sector, but a very important sector through the individual platform-based worker arrangement. But like I will share on the next slide, gig worker becomes a very important and offers opportunity, but also raise a question about the security, income stability, and also worker protection. Next slide, please. Yeah, here I think we can see that on the graph on the left side, you can see that the number of platform workers increased from around 2.2 million in 2019 to 4.3 million in 2024. So it's nearly doubling in just 5 years. So this is in line with the expansion of online ride-hailing and delivery services. But also you can see there is a major paradox on the graph on the right side. You can see that yes, on the one side, employment recover rapidly since COVID-19, but you can see that average earning, which were about 3.1 to 3.2 million per month in 2019, dropped significantly during the pandemic to around 2.6 until 2.9 million. So you can see that this means that although more people are working, their economic social security has not improved. So in other words, high labor absorption does not automatically translate into improved well-being. So now many gig workers are working longer hours for lower pay. So this shows that the contradiction of flexibility that turns into vulnerability. I think that's the topic of our session. Next slide, please. Now let's move on the geographical distribution of gig workers in Indonesia. When we look at where gig workers are located across Indonesia, we see a very clear spatial pattern. Platform workers are highly concentrated in urban areas, especially on the island of Java. This shows that the growth of gig economy follows dense metropolitan market demand, where consumer activity and mobility needs are the highest. According to the data that we see and we collect, around 88% of online transport drivers and 81% of other gig service workers are based in urban area. This is much higher than both formal and informal non-platform workers. This shows that platform labor is deeply connected to the structure of big city. This pattern also show important insight. In major city, digital platforms have become a critical infrastructure for organizing daily labor transaction. I think in Jakarta we cannot do our work without the help of Gojek, Grab, and so on. So I think this is already part of our daily life. Also, I think this is move to our question about with this pattern, how we can design protection that work fairly across different regions, not only urban centers. Okay, next slide. So here I would like to explain about the legal gaps and limited protection for platform workers in Indonesia. So as already mentioned before, there has been a rapid expansion of gig worker, but Indonesia still lacks a clear legal framework for protecting platform workers. So I think the core issue lies in the uncertain employment status between platform companies and workers, what we usually call as the partnership or kemitraan in Indonesia in relationships. So in practice, workers are not recognized as employee, but as a mitra or partners. So here we see that there are a lot of agreement that are usually unilaterally drafted by the platforms. So the workers have no real bargaining power in many situations. So because of this, workers fell outside the formal labor protection system. They cannot access basic employment rights such as minimum wage protection. They cannot access social security and insurance. They don't have a severance pay and also lack of industrial dispute settlement mechanism. At the same time, we also see that the cost and economic risks such as fuel, vehicle maintenance, loan installment are borne entirely by the workers. So we see that the platform exercise, I think also mentioned by the previous speakers, that platform exercise tight algorithm control over order allocation, incentive system, performance rating, and account suspension. So we call it as a flexible, but in reality, it result in extreme working hours, income insecurity, and lack of voice. So this is something happened due to the lack of regulation. So this is something that we need to focus on for the next month or years. Next slide, please. So here's, I would like to explain about the regulatory development related to platform workers in Indonesia. Although Indonesia doesn't have a comprehensive law specific to platform workers, several sectoral regulation already there to govern aspect of online transportation. For example, Ministry of Transport Regulation number 118 2018 and also number 12 year 2019 regulate operational standard and safety for online transportation. But the problem is that they don't regulate the employment relationship or guarantee labor right for platform workers. And the second one is in terms of the social protection, workers can register for BPJS employment as a non-wage recipients, but the contribution fully borne by the worker themselves. So some platform, but I think that there are some platform have already initiated corporate schemes to facilitate registration, but these are voluntary and inconsistent depending on each company's internal policy. And also all citizens in Indonesia are required to join National Health Insurance or JKN in Indonesia, but many platform workers are not enrolled because of unstable income. So we can see that there are regulations already there around operational services and access pathways, but none of them resolve the central question of status and share responsibility of platform workers. So this is why we need a dedicated legislative framework, not just a sectoral adjustment. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is something that we try to compare with the case of Malaysia and Singapore. I think Ms. Grace already explained a lot about the case of Malaysia in terms of the legal status, right to organize, access to social protection, written contracts and fairness of terms, and also dispute resolution mechanism. And also I think we see that from the case of Singapore, they're already there, but here in Indonesia, we still lack of these 5 indicators. So this is something that we would like to propose for the bill that currently in the House of Legislative. Next slide, please. So here's we would like to explain about the proposed content of Indonesia Platform Workers Bill. So because we INDEF is an independent think tank, so our main mission is or objective is to propose important points to be included in the bill and hopefully for the law. So currently the Platform Workers Bill is now included in the 2026 Priority National Legislation Program or Prolegnas. Yeah. So I think it's represent an opportunity. So because for first time protection of platform workers will be addressed through the dedicated legal instrument, not just sectoral regulation or voluntary corporate incentive. Why we need this separate law? Because the current legal landscape, we have first labor law, we also have MSME or UMKM law, cannot accommodate the unique characteristic of platform work. So a dedicated bill, we believe that will allow clarity in terms of legal status, also will provide minimum basic protection, and also will provide balanced responsibilities between workers and platforms. In total, we proposed 9 points, but I would like to group into 3 pillars. The first one is in terms of clarity of legal relationship. We believe that we must clearly define who platform workers are and how their relationship with the platform is structured. This includes designing balanced partnership framework that prevents unilateral contract change and requires structured social dialogue. The second one, in terms of the second pillar, is a minimum labor protection, which include first one is mandatory social security, occupational health and safety, transparency and fairness in earning, and also protection of working time flexibility. I think the goal is to make sure that workers protect workers without removing flexibility that makes platform work attractive. And the third pillar is institutional and governance structure to support fairness. This we believe that is important. First one is to have a right to organize and negotiate collectively, data recording and reporting on the worker numbers and income, and the last one is on the clear dispute resolution mechanism. We believe that this not about the choosing between flexibility and protection, it's about the ensuring that flexibility doesn't become vulnerability, and that digital economy is built on justice, transparency, and shared responsibility. The next one, please. Now here I would like also mention about we believe that social dialogue must be at the core of the process to build fair and sustainable regulatory framework for the platform workers. We must ensure that social dialogue in the platform economy is not a simply consultation, not a ceremonial forum as well, but a deliberative infrastructure that address power asymmetry between workers and platform to ensure that workers have voice, real influence on decisions that shape their livelihood. In many cases, we see that platforms have a far greater power. They control pricing, algorithmic assignment, incentive, and also even account suspension. So we believe that we have to make sure that they have bargaining power for the workers to have effective social dialogue. In this case, we believe that there are three institutional principles aligned with the ILO principle. The first one is constraint on exit. So platform must not be able to escape dialogue simply by changing contractors or shifting employment models. The second one is support for collective voice. So workers need access, data transparency, and algorithmic fairness so that their arguments are evidence-based, not just emotional approach. And the third one is strategies for solidarity. Platform workers are easily fragmented by application, by city, by job type. So to build bargaining power, solidarity must be inclusive and across platforms to enable workers to speak collectively, not individually. So this principle is important we call it as an institutional foundation for equal and productive dialogue to make sure that regulation is built with workers, not only for them. Next slide, please. So this is something that we propose. We see this because we often overlook how we design or draft the regulation. We must to make sure that we need this regulation is socially legitimate. So we must to make sure that platform worker bills is not only technically strong, but also socially legitimate. So we propose how regulation is co-created. In this case, we propose three methodological options for social dialogue. The first one is through the multi-criteria mapping. The second one is through the participatory action research. And the last one is technological citizenship. I think the last one is very important because this shift the debate from the narrow technical discussion to normative democratic conversation, because we challenge the myth that algorithms are neutral. Instead, open deliberation on how technology should serve society, not just industry. So we believe that these three models is important to show that social dialogue is not just a meeting, but a design process to rebalance power, enable informed decision making, and also to build collective agency. Okay, the next one, I think this is the last slide for my presentation. So after reviewing the evidence, legal gaps, and lessons learned from the other countries, we believe that Indonesia needs comprehensive platform worker bills. So I think that this is a very good opportunity, the inclusion of the bill in the Prolegnas. We believe that this is a historic opportunity, but again, we must collectively push forward to ensure dialogue, deliberation, and ultimate enactment. So in this case, we believe three core pillars of architectural design. The first one is in terms of the status and definition. We must establish clear legal clarity. Who are the platform workers? What is the legal nature of their relationship with the platform companies? Today, we see that ambiguous partnership in terms of, like we call it as kemitraan, allow unilateral control and deny worker legal protection. So we believe that dedicated bill must set balance a partnership model structured through institutional social dialogue rather than unilateral terms of service. The second one, we believe that it's important that the bill must guarantee minimum protection that uphold human dignity without eliminating flexibility. In this case, we believe that first, mandatory social security. The second one is the occupational health and safety standard. The next one is transparency and fairness in earnings. And the last one is protection of working time flexibility with a basic safeguard. And the last one, in terms of the institutional governance and data infrastructure, we believe that the bill that is currently discussed must build institutional capacity for industrial governance. The first one is the right to organize and collective bargaining. The second one is to have a mandatory data recording and reporting on worker number and income. The last one, we need to have a clear mechanism for dispute resolution so conflicts are not trapped in informal or costly civil process. But again, most importantly, the bill drafting process itself must be grounded in the meaningful social dialogue in line with the three ILO principles: constraint on exit, support for voice, and also strategies for solidarity. Yeah, the next slide. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a closing remark or thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I think again, yeah, I think we must, the one message is that we must not trade between flexibility and vulnerability. I think this is something that, flexibility should come again with the protection, not only for the dignity of the human, but also it's important for the long-term economic development of this country. Thank you very much. I will give back to moderator.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Imaduddin Abdullah. Due to time limitation, we will now open the floor for questions. Please state your name, institution, and indicate which speaker your question is addressed to. Please raise your hand. Bapak berbaju putih. And then at the first round, we will compile the question first and answer by the speakers. So please state your question.
Ya, terima kasih Ibu Moderator. Saya Heber Simbolon dari Kadin Indonesia. Maaf, saya berbahasa Indonesia karena kalau saya nanti pakai bahasa Cina, kalian bingung dan saya pun nggak ngerti. Ya, saya ingin menanyakan kepada para narasumber kita yang tamu-tamu negara kita, pada prinsipnya kalau orang bekerja, dia produktif adalah ingin sejahtera. Atau dalam kamus kami, dalam sebuah gerakan kami sebut dengan untuk mencapai prosperity. Di negara ini ada istilah hidup layak. Saya sebenarnya sangat tidak nyaman dengan istilah hidup layak karena saya lebih ingin sejahtera. Nah, pertanyaan saya Bapak dan Ibu-ibu, di negara Tuhan, di negara kalian semua, adakah kamus istilah hidup layak atau lebih cenderung pada hidup sejahtera? Karena karyawan atau pekerja kami sebenarnya ingin mereka hidup sejahtera, bukan layak. Karena layak masih jadi pengertian bias. Oke, selanjutnya di negara ini sekarang sebentar lagi akan membahas dengan upah minimum provinsi. Saya melihat bahwa di negara Korea, mungkin di Timor Leste belum ya, di negara lain upah minimum ini dipakai untuk bisa di atas hidup sejahtera itu. Sehingga para karyawan yang ada di luar negeri sekarang, kami sering melihat bahwa mereka mampu untuk tourism ke Indonesia. Tapi para karyawan UMP kami, UMP Indonesia belum pernah tourism ke luar negeri. Paling ke Bali, itu pun jarang. Nah, kenapa perusahaan-perusahaan asing yang ada di Indonesia, di negaranya begitu bagus untuk memanusiakan pekerjanya, begitu masuk ke negara ini, seakan-akan mereka tidak melihat kesejahteraan untuk memberikan UMP yang bagus. Demikian mungkin, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The second question, please, to the, ya, Mbak yang pakai kerudung coklat.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon all. My name is Dinela Dezawerawan, a student at the Polytechnic of Manpower or Kemnaker. I would like to ask Miss Grace Diariam about your presentation. Well, my question is brief. How will the tripartite consultative council determine the income standard for GIGS workers? Thank you.
I received any sponsor message that he said because of the time limitation, so only 2 questions that will be answered by the speakers. The first one I will translate first for English. He asked to all of you from the foreigner, is there any decent life or welfare life in your country? Because in Indonesia, we use some things like minimum wage for decent life, not for welfare life. He thought decent life is not appropriate, but welfare is better than a decent life. What your thought about that? And the second one is, a few moments later, the regional minimum wage will be announced, and regional minimum wage is reference to the decent living in Indonesia. But compared to the another country, if workers have a minimum wage, they can go to abroad. But in Indonesia, workers with minimum wage cannot go abroad because of the limitation of the remuneration. That's the question, the first question. Maybe you can answer first, Ms. Simransi.
Okay, so the very timely topic, hot topic, living wage versus minimum wage. And, you know, we haven't even solved that for non-gig workers. So to see how you could deal with the gig workers is another very important issue that needs to be tackled very soon. And it starts with the definition. Listen, I think one thing we have to remember, whether we're talking about living wage or minimum wage, is that it's the minimum. It's not the set wage. And one thing we have to also keep in mind, just watching the presentations made, is that it confirmed that these workers are not, by and large, the gig workers, are getting paid less than even the minimum wage. So I think in this reality, one has to really keep in mind that we don't get, you know, remember I said, don't put on rose-colored glasses and think, flexibility and, you know, this and that, you'll make a lot of money. Actually, the reality, at least so far, has been that these gig workers, especially in the transportation sector and delivery services, tend to not actually do as well as workers that are recognized. So I think for now, the conversation should perhaps focus on really defining who they are and how they can be protected under law, and that there should be at least a basic minimum wage if it is determined that they are in an employment contract. But if you determine legally in Indonesia that it's not an employment contract, it's a whole different ballgame. So these are things that, again, need to be underpinned by really robust, as you said, social dialogue, because there's no straightforward answers. We can come up with a lot of really robust, formulas, data, analysis, this and that, to come up with figure like this, figure like that, minimum wage for this, living wage for this, fine, we can go on endlessly. And you have the good data. But I think the importance here is really to make sure, especially going forward in this sector, the social dialogue elements, and not to get carried away with only one aspect of, because wages is only one thing. This is so much bigger right now in terms of protections that are needed. And that's what we need the workers and employers and governments to really make sure they deliver on. Really make sure. I mean, we know even in Indonesia, Grace was saying in Malaysia, you had people die, right, recently on the road. Someone happened here too in August, with a worker. So let's please just bring us back to what is the big picture here and how we can go about making sure we can protect them, legislate adequately, and definitely be on the same page on defining who they are and what we can do.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Chung, do you want to summarize or something like that in Korea?
I said it.
How about Miss Grace? Yeah, for the first question first, and then jump to the second question.
Thank you for the question. I'll just speak on some of the keywords mentioned: productive, sejahtera, prosperity, upah minimum. I think this is a global challenge in every country to determine that. I think unions, employers, government are always going through this challenge to determine the satisfaction among the three parties. So I think, I'm not sure whether this is my view or it's the ministry's view. I will just put it as a personal view. I think when unions and employers are unhappy, the government is safe because you are not siding to either party when an issue is raised. So when it comes to productivity, sejahtera, prosperity, not specific to gig workers, but I think in Ministry of Human Resources, we are reviewing our code of conduct for industrial harmony. So where we are incorporating some of these important elements for consideration of both parties, the union and the employers. So some of the things, it relates to this work flexibility, prosperity, work-life balance, right to disconnect. These are some of the elements that we would like to introduce to bring the balance to all. Thank you.
Okay, I just addition just a little. Minimum wage is a policy. Actually, it comes from love. Maybe it's capitalism. When happened capitalism or some of the industrial or it's a job model, there is no minimum wage. But there are workers, also my brother or my neighbor, but to live their life, we have to help them. This is the public administration. It means we have to think all country. We want to make good country. That's why there is we thinking in the capitalism. It's quite different, but we have to make a good country, good society.
Okay, for the first question, the last answer from the Pak Dr. Singawinata.
Thank you. Please allow me to speak in bahasa. I'm Indonesian, Pak. I'm not foreigner, Pak. Pak, saya ingin menjawab. Living cost, minimum wages, prosperity. Tadi Bapak sudah menanyakan. Paling tidak, Pak, di dalam sebuah research yang dilakukan oleh APO, Pak, ada salah satu option yang mau kita tawarkan. Jadi untuk supaya ada sebuah balancing between employers dan employee, salah satu optionnya Bapak adalah gain sharing, Pak. But this gain sharing harus supaya perusahaan juga transparan, Bapak, terhadap karyawan. Contoh, pada saat karyawan berhasil melakukan efisiensi berapa persen, sehingga akan terakumulasi sebuah saving dari efisiensi tersebut, perusahaan sebaiknya melakukan transparansi tentang itu. Apakah ada contohnya? Ada, Pak. Saya nggak mau sebut brand karena dulu saya bekerja di swasta. Dulu perusahaan saya seperti itu, Pak. Setiap efisiensi yang dilakukan perusahaan yang akhirnya memboost profit dari perusahaan itu diumumkan. Dan diumumkan kepada karyawan karena kita berhasil melakukan efisiensi sekian, maka akan ada gain sharing untuk karyawan. Jadi paling tidak, Pak, ini untuk balancing minimum wages plus gain sharing. Gain sharingnya bisa berupa bonus, bisa berupa dari kan yang lain. Itu jawaban saya. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Dr. Singawinata. And the last question for Miss Grace, you can answer it. Because the first question is about the abroad context. So, Dr. Iwadudin, do you want to answer or? Okay.
The question is how will the tripartite will determine the wages, the income for the gig workers. Okay. In the bill, we have proposed for the formation of the minimum for the consultative council. The aspiration is that this council is to be formed in a tripartite form. What we have done is actually we have following the existing model of our National Minimum Wage Consultative Council, which is a tripartite. So this is a similar method which will be used for consultative council for gig workers, where they need to form a task force or committees based on the industry or sectors. Say for the beginning, the council want to focus in determining the minimum standards for P-hailing, e-hailing. Okay, so they need to get together, do their study, engage, and then come up with this minimum standard order based on the demand of both parties. So that is the expectation. Meantime, at the moment, actually the interim secretariat for the council have already started their initial work to undertake a study on this method, to do study comparatively within the region and also internationally to see how is the income, the earnings is being set within countries that already have provision or legislation with regards to gig workers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Grace. For Dr. Imaduddin, do you want give something like summary or what kind of it?
Yeah. I will also answer in bahasa ya Pak, karena saya juga orang Indonesia gitu ya. Tadi terkait dengan standar hidup layak ya, memang saya pikir kita bicara mengenai standar hidup layak kan sangat kadang-kadang tantangannya adalah susah ya Pak didefinisikan gitu ya. Standar hidup layak orang Indonesia dengan standar layak hidup menurut orang misalnya katakanlah di Korea Selatan, South Korea atau di Jepang mungkin akan berbeda seperti itu Pak. Di Indonesia pun akan berbeda gitu antara standar layak hidup di Jakarta, di Bandung dan sebagainya gitu. Jadi memang pada akhirnya standar hidup layak itu yang nanti juga berkaitan dengan upah minimum provinsi kan ini akhirnya pada berkaitan dengan tadi ya disampaikan basic ya. Karena kita bagaimanapun juga harus menyeimbangkan antara satu bahwa perusahaan juga punya kepentingan untuk mengekspansi bisnisnya juga, yang jangan dilihat itu sebagai hal yang buruk gitu ya. Karena semakin perusahaan juga berkembang, ekonomi bergerak, itu pertumbuhan ekonomi akan semakin tinggi, kue ekonomi itu menjadi membesar, sehingga standar hidup kita itu relatif juga akan lebih tinggi gitu ya. Makanya kalau kita bandingkan antara mungkin tadi ada pertanyaan bahwa kok orang yang dari luar negeri bisa jalan-jalan gitu ya dengan standar minimum layak misalnya ya di sedangkan di Indonesia tidak. Walaupun mungkin juga belum tentu juga, karena saya mungkin ini pengalaman pribadi ya Pak, sebagai orang yang dulu pernah waktu itu saya kuliah di Inggris dengan pernah kerja part time Pak dengan upah minimum di sana gitu ya. Kalau dihitung-hitung juga kayaknya nggak cukup juga Pak untuk jalan-jalan ke luar negeri gitu ya, atau liburan gitu ya. Tapi yang saya rasakan adalah dengan hidup standar layak versinya mereka, relatif pendidikan sudah terpenuhi, kesehatan sudah terpenuhi, makan saya pikir kayaknya cukup, akomodasi cukup. Dan saya sepertinya melihat bahwa itu yang ingin bukan dicapai ya, tanda kutip, ingin dipastikan basicnya terjaga gitu ya. Dan menurut saya mungkin tantangan kita mungkin tidak hanya terkait dengan basic, karena banyak juga akhirnya masyarakat Indonesia yang kerja di sektor informal yang belum tercover juga gitu. Jadi memang mungkin tantangan kita adalah mungkin sebagai negara berkembang ya Pak, kita masih punya banyak PR ya. Nggak cuma terkait dengan gimana memprotek semakin banyak, tapi bagaimana kualitas protectionnya juga semakin baik gitu ya. Itu bisa bergerak kalau misalnya kita bisa sama-sama mendiskusikan, menjadikan ini sebagai sebuah dialog sehingga ketemu win-win solution ya bahwa gitu. Mungkin itu. Ya, terima kasih.
Thank you for Dr. Imaduddin. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our panel discussion on gig workers' flexibility and vulnerability from multiple perspectives. From today's session, several key messages emerged. First, collaboration is essential. No single actor can address gig work challenges alone. It requires joint effort from government, international organization, platform, non-platform employers, and workers. Second, policies for gig workers must be comprehensive, covering both platform-based and non-platform gig workers. And third, ensuring social protection, such as health coverage, work injury benefits, income security, and long-term protection. Finally, the future of gig work depends on our ability to balance flexibility, innovation, and fairness through effective regulation and multi-stakeholders cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause to all of our speakers for their valuable insight. To proceed with the next agenda, I now return to the floor to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for our panelists and also moderator for the meaningful discussion and also your valuable insights. We truly appreciate your contribution for today's forum. And now please remain on the stage, because, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with a token of appreciation segment. And this morning, we were privileged to hear an insightful perspective from our distinguished 5 panelists and also moderator. To honor their contribution, we would like to present a plaque as a token of appreciation. And now, allow me to invite the head of Manpower Planning and Development Agency of the Ministry of Manpower of the Republic of Indonesia, Professor Anwar Sanusi, PhD, to deliver a plaque as a token of appreciation. You may all rise. The first one, Bapak, will give one of the token of appreciation for our moderator, Dr. Putri Riswani Halim, MA. And also, Mrs. Simran Singh as the Director of ILO Country Office for Indonesia, Timor-Leste. Mr. Imaduddin Abdullah, PhD, Director of International Collaboration, INDEF. Dr. Indra Pradana Sinawinata, Secretary General of the Asian Productivity Organization. Mrs. Grace Dariam, Deputy Undersecretary, Labor Policy Branch, Policy Division, Ministry of Human Resources, Malaysia. Last but not least, Mr. Noah Jang, PhD, Visiting Professor at Kosin University. And a group photo will follow. We will let our fellow photographers and cameramen to please take this beautiful moment. And a count of 3, the best smile. And now with the energetic pose again in 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much to all the speakers who have attended and provided valuable insights and clarity during today's IFLP talk show session. Terima kasih, Bapak. Ladies and gentlemen, this is announcement for the paper presentation sessions according to each sub-theme. Please kindly pay attention and take a photo of the slide, or you can just scan the barcode so you can easily identify the room that you will be using. We are about to go for the next segment in the breakout rooms. And once again, announcement for the paper presentation sessions according to each sub-theme. Please kindly pay attention and take a photo of a slide, or you can just scan the barcode so you can easily identify the room that you will be using in the next 2 hours. In the next 2 hours, we will have our breakout room session, so please pay attention. This is announcement for the paper presentation sessions according to each sub-theme. Please kindly pay attention once again and take a photo of the slide, or you can just easily scan the barcode. And this is to make you identify the room that you will be using. And ladies and gentlemen, we will now take on a break. Please enjoy the lunch and also the refreshment served for you at the foyer. And we kindly ask everyone to please return at the ballroom on time, as the program will continue afterwards. And don't forget to bring your personal belongings with you. Enjoy the break and see you in a bit.
Don't be sad, don't you cry, just let go.